Welcome back to Serotonin. This episode is part 2 of 3 music videos that reference art history. And today we'll be talking about Millais' painting Ophelia in Taylor Swift's The Fate of Ophelia music video. I've always loved Taylor Swift's references to literature, history, and folklore. Folklore is actually my favorite Taylor album, so you can imagine my excitement when I saw her music video for The Fate of Ophelia. In the beginning of the music video, the camera pans to an elaborate frame in which we see Taylor lying down in a manner reminiscent of Ophelia in John Everett Millais' painting Ophelia from 1851 to 1852. Together, this reference to Ophelia and the song's lyrics convey Taylor's message in this music video. Let's take a look at both of them. Millais' version. Millais' Ophelia lies with a melancholic elegance in the cold waters of the brook in which she drowns. By the far-off look in her eyes, we can guess that she is already or nearly dead. There is a sort of sad beauty in this image, a tragedy surrounded by lush green moss and plants and delicate flowers. It's reflective of Ophelia's fate, a gentle girl driven mad and drowned too young. Taylor's version. Though not an exact replica of Millais' painting, Taylor's version of it carries a similar tone. She stares into nothingness with a hand outstretched but not reaching, and she lays in a brook surrounded by flowers. The nod to Millais' Ophelia is unmistakable. However, unlike Millais' Ophelia, Taylor's The Fate of Ophelia is not a tragedy but a tale with a happy ending. She uses the allusion to Shakespeare's Ophelia to describe a fate that she was saved from. To take a look at some of her lyrics from the song, she says, "You dug me out of my grave and saved my heart from the fate of Ophelia." She sings of someone who has saved her from falling victim to the fate of Ophelia. This fate in Taylor's sense is madness from the pressures of the life of a showgirl and not literal drowning, but maybe drowning from a lack of love. In the song, Taylor references times when she fell in love in the past only to find that, to quote her lyrics, love was a cold bed full of scorpions. As a result, she closed herself off from love. Another part of her lyrics says, "I sat alone in my tower." These scorpions could also refer to the overwhelming pressures of being in the public eye, as Taylor says that the venom from the scorpions stole her sanity. This is another reason why she shut herself in her tower. She may have fallen into madness and her heart may have drowned had it not been for the man, believed to be Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift's husband, who saved her heart from this fate. At the end of the music video, Taylor adds her own twist to the painting, laying in a bathtub in her showgirl costume. The reference to Millais is still there, with her near submersion in the water, but she makes the painting her own, in a sense claiming ownership over her version of it. Rather than staring into nothingness as she does in her first representation of the painting, she looks at the camera straight on. Her arm is not extended helplessly, but posed purposefully behind her head. This sense of control she portrays in her second representation is symbolic of her overcoming the fate of Ophelia, and perhaps suggestive of the idea that she wasn't some helpless maiden waiting to be saved, but one with the agency to save herself too. What's fascinating is that in Taylor's 2 allusions to Millais' painting, there are 2 different messages. In the first, she mirrors the painting more closely in a visual sense, perhaps to symbolize what could have been, the fate she was saved from. She appears as helpless and lifeless as Millais' Ophelia, and she is even displayed within a frame, symbolizing her figurative isolation in her tower and her confinement in her grave. In the second reference, Taylor is no longer trapped by a frame, symbolizing how she was freed by her lover and how she rewrote her own story. She found true love and she found a way to ride the wave of being in the public eye rather than being drowned by it. She's no longer destined for the fate of Ophelia. In conclusion, as I noted in the previous article, referencing literature and works of art, as Taylor does, is a means of keeping art alive. It continues a conversation across decades. Millais replies to Shakespeare 2.5 centuries later, and Taylor Swift replies to Millais another nearly 2 centuries later. It is a conversation rather than an imitation, because the replies are not redundant. Millais presents his own interpretation of Shakespeare's Ophelia, and Taylor presents her own interpretation and assign meanings to both Shakespeare's and Millais' Ophelias. It is this back and forth that keeps old art alive and adds depth to new art. If you enjoyed this episode, you may enjoy part 1, in which I discuss Bruegel's landscape with the fall of Icarus in BTS's Blood, Sweat, and Tears music video. Thank you for listening to Serotonin.